Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to another live broadcast of the Catalyst Lifestyle Podcast. I am your host, Sunkist, and with me, as usual, is my co-host, Aria F. Wright. I think I'm gonna make her wait for a second. All right, I'll bring it in now. What's up, Aria? You're good? How's everything?
Wait, so no, I'm sorry. I had you on mute, but I was videotaping you. I was videotaping you to put you on the gram. You on the gram.
I'm on the grizzly. I'm on the grizzly. All right. I love the energy right now. I love the energy. It's a topic that I like. We're going to talk about, some call it, the technical term is cannabis. Some say MaryJane, the devil's lettuce, sticky Icky,
devil's lettuce. I heard that one.
Yeah, that's a new one. OOOOWEEE, bud, and more. And yes, we are all talking about marijuana. And as we know, the laws have changed, but will they change for the betterment of the people and the country? So many entrepreneurs have taken a drug that many people are doing 10 plus years or even more for having a nickel bag. And we're talking about going back into the 80s and 90s of weed. And now are living from that same drug selling cannabis. So we're going to talk about that this evening. And this is going to be a hot and informative episode. So Ari, what's your opinion on it? It looked like somebody was dabbling in it already with all the
No, I don't have any opinions. I'm just here to learn today. So
just here to learn today?
I'm here to learn, and I'm here to encourage people to seek healthy options, and I'm here to encourage people to actually learn the difference and dispel any myths and stigmatisms that come along with cannabis and the cannabis industry, because I understand it is a very lucrative business and it's a very necessary business for people who actually have anxiety, that deal with anxiety and depression, and
and physical ailments as well.
Ailments, yeah. So all of that, I just want to learn. I'm here as a student today. If you had an episode about drinking, I'd lead that conversation. But right now, we're
not talking about alcohol.
No, I mean drinking beverages that are not alcohol, like power, energy, blah 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 blah.
Anyway, I'm gonna move on. I'm ignoring you. Anyway, as the title says, tonight's episode we're talking about the benefits and business of cannabis, and we have two great guests tonight. Aria will tell us about both of them, but before she starts, everyone, thank you for joining us once again. Please subscribe to our YouTube page or Catalyst Lifestyle. Hit the like button. Drop comments in the comment section. Also on Facebook, it's Catalyst Conversation with a K on both Catalyst Lifestyle and Conversation. So, Aria, start it up. Who's our first guest tonight?
First base, we have coming to the stage Dr. TAUNYA LOWE. She is an accredited PhD, an author, coach, and founder of Bhangology. Bhangology was created out of her personal challenges with sciatica and designed specifically for people who experience pain, anxiety, and sleep issues, but who want to take a natural approach to managing their issues using cannabis. Bhangology is also the perfect place for someone who's totally unfamiliar with the cannabis industry and its health properties. It's not a stoner community or a community for people who are looking for a high. Bhangology is specifically focused on issues pertaining to health and wellness. So let's welcome this beautiful lady, TAUNYA LOWE. Dr. TAUNYA LOWE. You better put some respect on it.
Hello. Thank you for having me on the show today to talk about this awesome topic. So thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you for joining us this evening. Who do we have next? Who's coming up to bat?
The next person up to bat on second base? No, or should we put him on third base?
Third base. We know at the end we're gonna hit a home run and bring him home.
That's right. Shout out to MC Search. Okay, third base, Tucky Blunt. He is from the Yay area, and he's the owner of the Blunt.
Don't ever do that again.
Company. No, I can't do that. No, I'm sorry. I can't. Okay. But Blunts and More is the first dispensary to open under Oakland's Cannabis Equity Program. And Tucky worked as a vendor for multiple Bay Area dispensaries from 1999 to 2004. And in 2004, he was arrested for possession with an intent to sell and given 10 years of felony probation with a 4-way search, which I have no idea what that is, but I'm about to learn that. He's now the proud solo owner of Blunts and More. This just happened a couple of weeks, I think 2 weeks ago. The proud solo owner, let's say it again, the proud solo owner, born November 24th in 2018. And the funniest thing about this whole thing is Blunt is actually his last name. So there's that. Here he is.
It's in the stars.
Here we go. Tucky Blunt.
Hey, what's going on?
What up, brother?
Man, chilling. Thanks for having me. How y'all doing?
No, we're doing great.
Pleasure to meet you, Dr. Lowe.
Hey, it's good to meet you too.
All right, enough of the pleasantries. Let's get down to business.
Let's get down to it.
This is how I move. All right.
No.
All right. So, as we said here, we're talking about cannabis and the benefits of it and the business of cannabis. So, a few of the biggest myths about cannabis are that it's addictive and it's not as bad as cigarettes. It's safer than driving drunk. These are some of the comments that are made about cannabis, sativa, marijuana, right? So, can you both shed some light on these myths? One, and the second question is, does marijuana have a negative effect on the body, such as edibles, tincture, oil, vape? Do these things affect you differently?
So I'll go ahead and jump in. So when we're talking about cannabis, it's really important for the listeners to understand that we talk about this leaf, right? So in this leaf, there's so many different cannabinoids, if you will, in this leaf. THC is only one of them. THC is what we know as marijuana, right? So there's THC, there's CBD, there's CBG, CBN, all of those can be extracted from the cannabis leaf. If you're in a state where THC is not legal, then it is extracted from the hemp leaf. So I think it's really important to set that ground road as to what we're speaking about. So as we talk about the myths, I think you was the question. We all know that marijuana is in the same classification as cocaine and some of the other drugs, but yet and still, on the other hand, the government has had a patent for cannabis for more than 30 years. And so one of my clients actually did a movie on, the plant, us versus the plant, and actually surveyed a lot of people asking them, do you think is cannabis the gateway drug? And out of surveying all of these people, many people said that it wasn't. And they talked about the benefits that they got, whether they were a recreational user or if they were using it for their for wellness purposes. So I think there are a lot of myths, and I think also in those myths there may be some truths as well, depending on the angle and your use of the plant.
Okay. Tucky, what's your view on that?
I agree. Like you said, it all depends on how you're using, what you're using it for. But I've never known anyone to OD off weed. And at the end of the day, this is a plant we're talking about. At the end of the day, like she said, one part of this leaf encompasses a whole plant, and there's so many medicinal values. And perfect example, you ask already know a bunch of NBA people. You ask your NBA friends how they feel off of taking a bunch of pills as opposed to just smoking some weed or rubbing some CBD cream on their knees. And
allegedly.
Well, no, it's legal in the NBA now. So,
All right, true.
You can do what you do. But even before then, it's like the United States tends to, wants to pump opioids into our bodies, and those tear us down and kill us. But this plant is like saving us. And at first y'all didn't love it, but now y'all on board with it. It's funny how the stuff can flip flop, but everything is in how you consume and what you consume for. I'm a recreational. But when I'm sore, I have my cream for medicinal purposes. But I like to smoke to get high to feel the effects of the THC. That's me. But that's just 1% of the other people that you can use the cannabis plant or just the different cannabinoids. Like there's cannabinoids in breast milk, people. Like, there people need to know that, like, yes, like kids come out getting cannabinoids from breast milk. You know what I mean? Not getting high. You're not getting high. So guys, don't go out there and try to, do stuff that you want to think that's no. But it's just all in how you use and what you use. Just do your research. It's not a drug. It's a plant. You know what I mean? It really does need to be declassified. So,
okay. So let's move forward into dividing THC from CBD. So what are some of the long-term advantages and disadvantages of THC and or CBD?
I'll let the doctor go on that one.
So guys, I for many years I worked for the state of Georgia. I ran all of the substance abuse programs for the state of Georgia. So for years I was in that just say no category. And so when we talk about side effects or some of the things that could be problematic for THC users, according to the National Institute of Drug Abuse, if you're using THC, you may have an altered sense. It may change your mood, impaired body movement. Some of these same things that we read on the back of the bottles of narcotics that we're prescribed, impaired memory, delusions. Some would even say psychosis, again, depending on the user and perhaps maybe the amount that you use. With CBD, from my research, most of what I can tell from my personal research and from my clients is that you might just get a really good night's sleep. You might wake up in the morning feeling like you had, that Benadryl haze. And so when I think about the differences between the two, and again, it really depends on your use and what you're using it for. I think if you're using it for health and wellness, which is, what the end of the spectrum that I'm on, if I'm feeling a little woozy the next day, but I'm struggling with pain, sleep, or anxiety issues, then I can handle that, as opposed to if I've been taking narcotics for my pain, and then I'm having a lot of other maybe intestinal issues, or I can't sleep because the amount of oxy that I have to take to manage my pain is keeping me awake. So I think those are the kind of the side effects between CBD and THC that I have done research on, and that I have heard some of my customers say.
And then for me, it's weird. So when I hear all that stuff about how THC does this and does this and does that, I was a 4.0 student. Mind you, I've been smoking since I was 13. 4.0 student, graduated junior high, number 2 in the class, graduated high school, number 10 in Oakland Public School, Oakland Unified. Big nerd, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think THC ever slowed me down. I was very cognitive. I still wake up at 5 in the morning every morning, still do my wake and bake. Like, it's just a lot of those lies that were put out there. Now, stuff was investigated to a certain extent, but a lot of stuff was just flat out lies, that they just put propaganda, et cetera, et cetera. But again, I would challenge anybody to show me where somebody OD'd off of weed, even if it was THC. You can get really, really, really effed up, pass out for a few hours, and wake up and still feel high for another couple of days. I don't know nobody OD'd. And for it to just now becoming legal, basically, since 2012 is a slap in the face, when it should have never been illegal. I mean, we got people dying in car crashes, alcohol, this and that and the other, opioids, right. People killing over, going. You don't hear nothing. Weed heads ain't doing none of that. We ain't doing none of that. You know what I mean? And for me, the opposite side of it with the CBD, I love the CBD because it's straight medicinal. Like, you can use that in so many different ways. You know what I'm saying? And you don't have to be high. If that's not your thing, if you just want to not be high, CBD is right up your alley. You know what I'm saying? But I'm a THC head, so I want to feel the euphoric or downer effects of it, but I don't let it like consume me. Some of the most talented people I know, business wise, intellectual wise, smoke weed. been smoking weed. It's not like, you know what I mean? So I'm just, you know me, I'm pro weed. So
I'm going to attest to the fact that you do wake up at 5 a.m. and you go out, because when I spoke to you like maybe a couple weeks ago, you were like, yeah, I'm about to go on my walk. And I looked at my watch, because you're in Oakland. I'm in New York. So I'm like, what time? Wait, okay. You like, I'm about to go on my walk. Okay. I'm going to let you have that because I'm still in bed.
Yo, Tuck, I ain't mad at you, bro. I'm not mad at all. So, Tuck, you're speaking about the industry and like how there's definitely a flaw within how the government regulates marijuana and how it's distributed, and if it's illegal, it's not illegal in certain states, holding on to that. But let's talk about the industry for a second. Is it possible that the CBD industry will surpass the weed industry, or vice versa even?
I honestly, from just where I sit in my position now, it's really going to always stay neck and neck. I mean, because you have your half of people who are going to want this, and your other half, and maybe broke down to four, because you can break it down into a couple categories. You got your THC and all the fields in that. You got your CBD and all the fields in that, meaning edibles, tinctures, smoking it, vaping it, wax, distillates. Like, there's so many ways to get the product into you. So it's literally from numbers, like me sitting looking at numbers. I think it's going to remain even. I don't know that to be fact, but you're going to have people who want one or the other or both. So I don't really see I mean, I think hemp is going to get back, like, you know, like hemp can go everywhere. So I know hemp products may start to try to overtake THC and flower, but it still remains to be seen. You know what I mean? I really think it's just going to be I'm trying to do everything. I want to do hemp. I want to do THC, CBD, everything. So I think more of us feel like that, then it's going to keep it equal and unilateral. You know what I mean?
And Tuck, before Dr. Lowe answers this same question, you said flower. What is flower for that?
So flower is so when you get the plant and it's a clone, it's a little baby and it grows and it grows buds, flower buds. So those ending buds that once the plant is done and dry, you cut it and clean it up. The bud is what we call flower or weed, you know, flowered cannabis. Got it.
Okay.
And there's flower on the CBD side as well. Yep. So everything that's on the THC side, it's also on the CBD side as well. So the question that you asked about the you know, where are we neck and neck? I'm not really sure about the THC side, but I do know that CBD is projected to be a $962 billion industry. And so with just the CBD alone, right? And so if you've got, you know, e-commerce people like myself, or you have dispensaries, there's so much opportunity within this industry that was once taboo, that was once, you know, putting people in jail, sending them away for years. And so there's definitely a lot of opportunity here, but with opportunity, there's also a lot of challenges.
Okay. So breaking down cannabis as a medicinal benefit versus a recreational benefit, is it safe for use in pain management for children? Because that's been a discussion as well. And along with that, how can we break down the negative stereotype of marijuana / CBD? And does it have that beneficial response also for the older population and for reducing pain and like visceral ailments?
So I will say that CBD for use with children is an individual parent's choice. I do have some customers that give their children CBD for ADHD. And so they've done their research. There's there are groups out there, you know, CBD moms. So I think it is, it's a personal choice. And I think that if you decide to give it to your children, that you do the research and you monitor it, and that's your business. if you know, for the older generation, when I launched this business 9 months ago, the growing number of people using CBD are people 50 and over. And so, you know, hey, that's me. Those are my people. So we target people 40 and over, because if you're 40 and over, more than likely you're going to have some pain, sleep, and some anxiety issues. One of my top customers is a 70-year-old woman in West Palm Beach, Florida, who orders our pain rub because she's got bone-on-bone pain. So I think when it comes to really getting the word out about the health properties and how you can use CBD for wellness, is we've got to continue doing things like we're doing today. We've got to talk about it. We've got to talk about the differences. We've got to talk about the benefits. People have to share their stories. When someone first came to me and said, hey, you need to try CBD for your sciatica, my first thing was, I don't do drugs, you know? And so I didn't know. And even today, people are still, you know, that's their response until they're educated. So I think we have to continue educating people on the differences of the plant and the benefits.
What's crazy is that what Dr. Glow just said is a word that a lot of people hear me say a lot when I talk, and it's kind of links to everything within the cannabis space. It's education. Even just with the education, and like I always say, education and funding will help this whole business as a whole, but that's just key with understanding everything, because we've been told for so many years and we've been programmed to believe this particular plant was this form of drug and this form of this. It's just a deprogramming thing. Again, we have to get more people to come out and educate and talk about it and be willing to do the research. Like when DARE came out and we went to school and dealt with DARE, I laughed at DARE. Like weed was never bad to us. Weed was drugs. And when we seen the DARE they came through, we took the shirts and matched them up with our shoes because it was clean. It was a fit. We didn't, like, weed wasn't a drug to us. And we didn't have no education in. We just knew that our parents did it and it was cool. Our grandparents did it and it was cool. And it was like, all right, if they doing it, we want to do it. But then as I wanted to, you know, immerse myself in learning about cannabis at a young age, I'm like, man, we really shouldn't be getting locked up for selling this. Like, what are we doing? You know what I'm saying? So it's just, it just, I know, you know, I second everything Doc said, but when she said that keyword education is key for all levels in this space. Like anything you can think of, you need to be educated on is in this space. You need to learn it, you know, if that's what you want to do, you know?
Yeah, I have a question though, quickly. So do you find that the younger generation is more interested in, you know, participating in the recreational side versus the business side, or, you know, and, you know, like the older generation is interested in more of the business side versus the recreational side?
To be honest, from the people I know, just speaking solely on people I know, man, it's 50-50. You get some old people that still kind of like, oh, I want to stay outside and do my back door business. You got some youngsters that want to come in and try, but then you got some that don't. They rather just sell weed or they rather steal weed. It's just like, but they got to see more people like us. You know what I'm saying? They see a bunch of white people doing it. They don't think they're going to get a chance to succeed. But if you got us showing that we can do this and us linking up with more of us and deprogramming the whole myth that we can't F with each other and, you know, build our communities together, you know, that type of stuff would help. But it's like, it's 50-50. You feel me? All right, it's like I try so hard to tell people to get in this space, but the first thing they want to do is grow and sell. Those are the two hardest things to do in this space. The two hardest. Do not get in this space to grow and sell. Find something else to do. And if I can get that more message out there to other people we know, to get that message out there and start circulating that message to do other things within the space, we could all eat. Again, that's another topic for another day.
Well, Tucky, I'm so glad you said that, because, you know, when I first got into the industry, being a trainer, training and education is my background, really looking at using my transferable skills in this industry. And so as I've been, you know, learning and doing research, the best way, if someone is interested, is looking at, you know, how can I get in without touching the plant and products, you know? So if you plan events, plan cannabis events. If you have a clothing line, plant. One of my friends that I went to college with, she has a cannabis clothing line. So there are a lot of different ways you can get into this industry without touching the plant or touching products.
So this is the part of the podcast where we're gonna go off the rails a little bit. And we're all adults here. And a question that comes up sometimes, I've had this discussion with people that are like, why do you smoke weed? Or why would someone smoke weed and it affects your body and it's horrible, it's a drug. And one of the points of discussion is the sex drive. And does marijuana inhibit your sex drive? So is this a fact, true or false? And whatever your answer is, if you can give a little bit of content behind that.
Ladies first, please.
I should say ladies first on this one.
I mean, it's ladies first all the time. Tuck, you the man. You right. Go ahead, Doc. Go ahead. Drop your knowledge.
So I was sharing with a friend of mine who has been my THC educator about whether I should share this story or not. So I have not even indulged in the THC realm until a year ago. So I can't really say if it does or doesn't. What I can say is it makes me very sleepy. I get really good sleep. So I don't know if yeah. So that's what I can say.
But did you have indica or sativa?
Indica.
I've had one of each.
In the cut.
For me, they're all in the couch. It's like
in the couch.
I'm not ready to go to night.
Night.
So so I can't speak on that. But what I will say is whether you're a THC or a CBD user, there are benefits of both. And I hope we can kind of circle back and talk about full spectrum and not full spectrum and kind of what that does for people.
So me personally, does cannabis affect sex? If I don't want to screw, I'm not screwing. If I want to screw, I'm screwing. Like tree doesn't for me change anything. I don't think it's made anything less potent or less strong or anything like that. It hasn't let me see. I got fixed about 9 years ago, so it definitely hasn't had anything to do with no kids. So you said off the rails, so
I mean, hey, I'm not.
We threw the rails away at this point. Like, it's over. In the ocean.
So it's safe. So from both of your responses, it's safe to say that it doesn't enhance, neither does it inhibit.
Not sex drive.
Well, I will say, because I was just listening to a webinar earlier last week where they were actually talking about cannabis and sex. And so now we're starting to see a lot of products that, lubes with CBD oil in them. So I think that there's a place for it. And I believe that it's going to be just like everything else. It's going to be different according to that person. Everyone's interaction and response to the plant, it may be different.
Got it. Okay.
I mean, just to your point, Doc, there are so many like little boutique pop-up stores that just advertise in their windows, CBD products sold here,
right.
And it's like,
be careful. Be
very careful.
Yeah. I think that's a part, going back to what you were saying earlier, it's like all about education, because when people think about what marijuana is, what cannabis is, their mind automatically goes to, an addictive substance that, people should not do because it alters your mental, physical, and, spiritual state, emotional. Yeah. And a lot of times it puts people in a state of depression if they are using it. And that's what the stigma is for that, so I think that education is super important, because I don't, for years, people have been telling me, because I've, as I've left the age of 21.
All right, come on.
Did 21 leave you?
I left it. We're on good terms. We go back to my point. So as I left it though, a lot of
Left it
people
though.
were like, the ailments that I started to get, they're like, oh, use this and use that and use this CBD product and use this. And it's just like all CBD products are not created equal. And you need to know what you're buying, because you can't just walk into a store and be like, yeah, give me something for this, because, they'll sell you anything pretty much.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you said that, because my first CBD product was a topical. I'd been traveling. I was in California, and I wanted something that didn't have THC in it. And I was like, let me see what these creams over here. And I was very surprised, because I was like, okay, does it work, or does it work because I want it to work? But either way, I've got some relief. And as I was looking at products and testing products for my company, I wanted something that was going to simulate that, especially once I was kind of becoming more CBD friendly. And then I had a bad experience by ordering some product from online. And so it's really, really important to purchase premium products, ask questions, ask about the COAs. I think I saw a statistic that said only 30% of the products actually contain what's actually in them. So that's a big part of what we do in Bhangology, is really educating people. Of course, we want people to buy our products, but being a product, being an educated consumer, so that wherever you get products from, you can ask the right questions and make sure that those products work for you.
You see that word came back up again, right? Education. That's not by luck. You know what I'm saying? That's because that's supposed to come up. And for those who don't know, COAs are certificates of analysis. So you want to make sure that your product's been tested, that's going through a reputable, and there are some bad testing facilities. So it may seem like, wow, I got to do all this research, but it is going into your body at the end of the day. And that's something I didn't realize or think about as a youngster when I was just, selling weed as a business. I was looking at it as I'm providing a product for people to get high. But now you have to know what's going into your weed. You realize some of that stuff you were smoking, choke, wasn't supposed to be in there. You know what I'm saying? Right. So just to follow up on the COAs, that's definitely like, that means basically buy your product from licensed dispensaries or retailers. Don't just buy them from your corner store with a big green cross in the window.
Right. Got you. So Dr. Lowe, speaking of Bhangology, for your program, do you need a medical marijuana license to participate in the program?
No, because we don't sell anything with more than the legal amount of THC, which is 0.3%. And so our products, we have CBD, full spectrum CBD oil, which means that it does contain the legal limits of THC. It actually contains all of the cannabinoids. And so when all of the cannabinoids are working together, an individual may get better results, right? Again, results are going to be individualized. And then we also have isolate products, which is just the CBD isolated from everything else. We have gummies and pain rubs and tinctures. So yeah, I think that answered your question.
No, definitely. And there've been a lot of conversations swirling around about AR and VR. So what are your views on incorporating virtual reality and augmented reality in the cannabis industry?
Go ahead, Taki.
So I don't know. I'm one of them kind of people. I believe in all the. If you say it's weird, I'm pretty sure I believe in it. You know what I mean? Well, I don't know about the Loch Ness monster, but I think there's a Bigfoot. I believe in species walking around. So I'm pretty sure there's some aliens and AI and stuff like that. But I do know they use some forms of different AI and like mechanical engineering and stuff in a lot of grow rooms. A lot of grow rooms are becoming more automated, more push button. Now, for me as an older grower, for me, I've been growing for 20 years, but I prefer going in there and messing with the plants, doing my trimming, singing to them, etc. But a lot of big corporations, sorry, a car driving past my house. It's a lot of big corporations coming up and, building these big farms. It's hard to maintain them big farms with staff. So they are getting into a lot of different augmented realities and just using AI bots. I've seen some different growers do different like genetic labs to do their plants and stuff. So it's coming, but that's the side I'm seeing. I'm sure it's more technical probably on Doc's end, but for me, I am seeing a little bit of the, augmented reality type stuff coming into grow labs so far.
Okay.
But I mean, before you go, Doc, so Tucky, wouldn't that kind of cut into what you're doing, with the actual flower?
No, I mean, for me, if that works for them, be my guest. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of these, if we're talking about flower, a lot of big companies that do them big mass grows end up crashing because it's hard to have quality control. To have a good source of good flower, you want a smaller room. You can control it better. And a lot of these big corporate companies don't have people like me that's growing weed on their team. They just got people that's, we can do a little bit, whatever. So no, it wouldn't bother me. I mean, if that works for them, that works for them. You know what I mean? But for me, no, I don't know. I'm just not, I've never been one to worry about competition or lose anything or do anything because I'm from an area where you had to sell weed next to another person. And everybody in East Oakland was a weed man. So like competition or worrying about something going to slow me down. Nah, I don't think nothing nobody's going to do is going to slow me down. So
can't stop, won't stop.
Can't stop, won't stop. So what I know about AR, augmented reality, is that it's being used to communicate product information with QR codes. I know we're in the process of creating some QR codes. So when people buy our products, they can pull up the COAs, certificates of analysis. They can pull up some information about the product, how to best use the product. And so we're not doing that right now, but that is something, a trend in the industry, again, going back to education. With virtual reality, I love virtual reality just for just any given day, just for fun. But I believe when you combine CBD and virtual reality for wellness, I'm a big proponent of CBD and yoga, or CBD and massage. And so it really has a CBD and meditation. And so if you can combine those components into a virtual reality simulants, if you will, and then you take the CBD, should bring you some calming, especially if you struggle with anxiety, stress, you want to relax. It's just kind of a double entity to help you to get to where you're trying to be.
Yes, and with COVID, there are a lot of people dealing with anxiety, stress, fear, all kinds of other emotions that they did not know that they even had or were capable of having. So they need to come and see you. They need to holler at you.
Yeah. And Ari, you asked the question about, about the younger people versus the older people. I think, again, going back to education, some of the younger folks, they understand that, okay, CBD can help me with my anxiety, even though I might be a THC recreational user. They do know, that the differences between the products. And then there are some people that I've spoken with that have said just the combination of the two. But again, it goes back to education. It goes back to what works for you if you've been in this cannabis game for a long time.
Well, Dr. Lowe, if you had the opportunity, would you incorporate the whole AR, VR into your treatments or no?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we were talking about, the industry. And so some of the challenges for me that I face, being a baby in the industry is payment processing. And so I'm having to have my company have more of a wellness feel, even though our company name is, our whole process is around wellness, but we're going to have to start doing more wellness things. We can't just say we're just CBD, which is fine for me, so that my store is not always getting shut down. But absolutely, we already have some of our members who are meditation specialists, and maybe one day we'll have our own VR app where we can all come together and pop a couple of gummies and do some meditation and just make that pain, anxiety go away. So absolutely, I would definitely consider incorporating that into our business.
Nice. So Dr. TAUNYA, can you tell me because I definitely am so intrigued by what you're doing now. What were you doing prior to this, moving into the CBD industry?
So thank you for asking. So I'm a personal and professional development consultant. I work with organizations, helping them to develop their best kept secret, their human capital. And so we go into companies and we help them with, we do assessments, we do leadership development, coaching, strategic planning, really helping them get their people in the right place. So one of the things that, now that I'm on this on the Bhangology side, the cannabis side, I am really, really intrigued about how organizations, how are they looking at their employees who may use CBD. So some of my federal customers who work in the federal government, they're like, no, I can't, we have a no use, no tolerance. They're so afraid that it may come up in random drug screens and things. So they may use topicals more so than the edible products. But so now as I'm on that end of the leadership development, whenever I get an opportunity to talk to HR, where do you guys stand on this? And if someone decides to use CBD for their pain as opposed to, narcotic drugs, where do they stand on that? So,
yeah, that's cool. So do you think that more companies are going to move away from, testing on that level? Because honestly, if that's the case, if they're going to still be very, very particular about drug testing for a lot of these positions, a lot of people will be without jobs.
Right. I think it still goes back to education. Everybody's got their mindset, right? They've got their thought process around what this plant means and what it can do. And I think that certain industries may be a little less drivers, people in transportation industry, they may not be so quick to jump in and say, hey, we're not going to test. So I think we're still a ways from it in the workplace.
Yeah, definitely. And I was just talking to someone when we were talking about this particular episode, and they were saying that they're very creative when they, smoke or when they indulge. So it's interesting to see the different effects that it has on different people. Obviously, I guess if you're, you're more seasoned, I don't know what else to call it.
You can say seasoned.
Yeah, you can say seasoned.
Seasoned, it might have a different effect on you to make you more creative and more engaging. But just as you said earlier in the show, it puts you to sleep. So,
right.
It's this. There's so many different effects, and you just can't. And I think that's why it probably has to remain on a very kind of one size fits all. Because if you say that it's not going to be a factor for you accepting this position on one side, and you're a counselor or something, but then on the other side, and you say that you're not going to accept or make people do a drug testing, and they're a driver, for example, and they fall asleep at the wheel, like they're putting other people's lives in their hands. Right. So it's just really, really hard to determine at this point in our lives, and at this stage of the game where we're still educating the country about the benefits and the business of the cannabis industry. So
I think
go ahead.
I'm sorry. I think that even as it becomes more legal in places, we have to also remember that employers have the final say at their job, at where they work.
And just to add to what Aria said, that I think there's a time and a place for any and everything, right? It all depends on what the responsibilities are of that individual. And both of you have mentioned the word education, and that's one of the biggest takeaways tonight. I think another additive to that is economics, right? Because from a financial standpoint, this is why it's not legal everywhere, because certain states want to make sure that they're being compensated well enough that they can make it legal. Right. And then there's other laws, and then you have people that have their arguments of why it should be legal or why it should not be legal. So with that, Tucky, I'm going to ask you, can you shed some light on the history of the equity program and how it came about for you?
Will do. Real quick, just to go, I got to say this. What I do while I'm at work should not matter. I mean, what I do, when I'm not at work shouldn't matter. I used to work, real quick, I got to touch on this. I work for Alameda County.
Absolutely.
And there were people that I worked with that were dope fiends, alcoholics, all the stuff, but we call them functional dope fiends, alcoholics. Like I would literally leave my county desk, go to grind on my turf, and one of the people I used to work with used to come buy dope from one of my homeboys. So what I do outside of work shouldn't matter. As long as I'm doing my job while I'm on the job, it shouldn't matter if I smoking all the coke in the world, weed in the world, drinking my life away while I'm outside of your establishment, while I'm on the clock for your business. No, I won't do any drug of any kind, any flower, nothing. But that's just my 2 cents. Now, as far as the equity program, 2016 social equity program was brought to light, to Councilman Rebecca Kaplan and also Desley Brooks by Keith Stevenson. Keith Stevenson is the first Black-owned cannabis retail anywhere in the world. It's called Purple Heart in Oakland. And he brought up the social equity wing, and like I said, in 2016, and brought it to council. They came up with the program. Bam, they put it out. The program needs, of course, education and funding because that's just what cannabis needs. I got into the program 2018 via a lottery for dispensary licenses for retail storefronts. 2018, we won the lottery. It was 36 people in the drawing. It was a bingo ball. Throw your ball in the chamber, roll around. They pick your ball, you lost. If you was one of the last 4 balls, you won a license for a dispensary. Once you win that license, you then have to find funding, find a location, and try to set up shop. Great program. Just need some oversight, need some education, need some funding. Because you given in most cases to qualify for the equity program. I gotta say, to qualify for the equity program, you have to live in Oakland in certain time frames, certain areas, in certain districts, make a certain amount of money per year, and have caught a case for cannabis or charges for cannabis in those districts. I fit all the criteria. Bam. But after that, there was no money involved. You gave me a license in $1 billion industry with nothing, just a license. And at the time, though I had a little bit of education, I didn't know the value of my license. So it kind of like set up a reverse war on drugs for you, because you're now a piece of blood in a water with a bunch of sharks. And if you've never had or seen $20, $30, $40, $50,000 in your life, you might be subject to sell your license for that minimal of amount, not knowing that you got a $10 million license in your pocket. So for me, the social equity thing was great. I own the first dispensary that's ever came out of that program called Blunts and More. We reopened February 22nd, so make sure y'all come out. But just like I strive for the social equity program to get the education and the funding it needs, because it's too many of us that it should be 8 equity dispensaries open right now in Oakland. There's only 1. And we're not even open yet because we got to reopen from doing some construction. So that's a problem for me. It's like the social equity program, again, is a great idea, great concept. It can be a great thing, but without that education fully and the funding that we need, it's gonna stay stagnant, and we got to work together to change that. But it has helped me. I have a dispensary, and I'm able to talk to y'all about trying to get other people to get dispensaries, but it can be done. We need oversight. You know what I'm saying? We need funding and education. I mean, it's corny, but it's the real.
Right. So let's talk about, and Ari brought this up earlier, about the younger generation and becoming an entrepreneur, and if this is an interest of theirs, what are some of the opportunities you see for a young entrepreneur looking to venture into the cannabis industry, and how would you advise them?
The possibilities are endless, like no BS. Anything you could think of that's in any form or facet of a business, Cannabis needs, like they need graphic designers, they need clothing design. Like I had to have somebody design all of this. You can get paid to do this. I have to have somebody print all of this. Like anything you can think of in a business, you can do. The way to approach it is do the research on what you think you want to do. Quit coming to people that's in the space and say, hey, I want to get in the space. Can you help me? No, you don't even know what you want to do. How can I help you? So my advice, though I'm not trying to be an a-hole, is do your research before you come to somebody and ask for help. Find out what niche, what thing you want to do in the space. Again, growing and selling are not the things to look into. I'm going to give y'all a gem. So there's things called grow cubes. They're called rock wool cubes. And every grower knows about them. You take your clones and you end up putting them in a rock wool cube so your weed can grow. I don't know no black on rock wool cube makers. These are things that's in every grow room anywhere around the planet. Millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of them. And we don't have a black owned maker. We got to think outside of the growing and selling box. So that's my advice. And then like the possibilities, like real talk, anything you can think of in a business, cannabis needs. So
I definitely agree with Tucky. Think about what are those things you enjoy doing, and those transformative skills, just roll them over into the cannabis industry. So like one of our members, she does events. Because of COVID, she hasn't been able to do events. And so, now she's been looking at, well, how can I do these online events, but cannabis specific events? It's happening. It's been happening, for a year now. And so if you're in the event space, that's something that you can look at developing. Definitely do your research. I had a call with someone last week, and they called and they wanted all this information. And I was like, have you done your research? I just got on Google. I did two things. I got on Google, I made a decision. And that's what you have to do. There will be some people that will help you, but you've got to know the direction you want to go in. You've got to do that pre-work. And that's in any industry. People will not invest in you until you've made some investment in yourself. So I'm sure like Tucky and like myself, we're busy. We've got things to do. But if you show me, hey, this is all the research that I've done, then we can have a conversation. But if you start at ground zero, I can't help you.
Right.
For free.
Hey, in fact, so the first one is free, the next one is a fee.
So last question for the both of you. And Doc, I would like you to start first here. What states would you recommend a young entrepreneur to explore if they wanted to take full advantage of the business and benefits of the cannabis industry? Like what states would you recommend?
You mean like where they can be
Locale,
where they can sell both?
Mm-hmm.
JCS. I mean, I know that everybody's running to California, everybody's running to Vegas, but I would go, and I don't have the map in front of me, but I would go to one of those states. I mean, I don't know, like if Oregon is one of them, I'd go there because it's probably not going to be a lot of competition there. I instead of following the path, I go in the opposite path. And that's what I would do.
Okay. And then for me, Oklahoma is on the radar, but you got to be ready to work out there. It's kind of like Los Angeles all over again. So if you go out there weak-minded, I wouldn't recommend that for like you can go out there as a new face, but I would go out there strong-minded. You know what I mean? Don't be, that's just but I would go do your research again, educate yourself, and go to where you see city level officials are pulling for cannabis. You'll know that's where the next place to go. Okay. I can't tell you all the places to go because I'm on my way to some of them, but look at the places that lobbyists and city officials and government officials, not presidential level, not even Senate level. Look for the people that are city locales and those government offices that are pushing for cannabis. Those are going to be the ones that are going to have it next up. I know they're working on Jersey. Jersey should end up linking to New York, so that'll be huge. Like I said, Oklahoma, they're trying to do some stuff in Florida, Atlanta. I'm trying to bring some stuff to Nebraska. I just talked to some more people out there in Nebraska. And this is hemp. I'm not even just talking cannabis. I'm talking about hemp too now.
Right.
But it's a few states to get on, but it's all in how you research and where you go. I would say definitely don't come to California. It's oversaturated. Like it's too. Don't come here.
Yeah, a lot of friends have done Detroit, like done a lot of business.
I'll be there on the 15th. Yep.
I think to add on to what Tucky said, also, you know, a big piece of, I guess, in any industry is do your research and develop a team of people, your own little inner circle that you can bounce ideas off of, and that can lead you and be a guide for you after you've done your research, and understand that you may have to make an investment in coaching or consultation.
Once again, another great conversation. You know, speaking on the benefits and the business of the cannabis industry. I want to thank Dr. TAUNYA LOWE. I want to thank Tucky Blunt. Doctor, can you just let the audience know where they can find you and just give a little information so they can contact you, and the same thing with you, Tucky, as well?
Absolutely. So we're on all social media as Bhangology. So
can you spell that? Bang, bang, bang. Come on.
So let me spell that for you. It's BHANGOLOGY. And so what Bang means, and it's actually pronounced bong, it is it's a drink that's made in the Middle East. And so it's made of everything, including the stems and all of that. So so follow us everywhere on Bhangology. Our website is bhangology.com.
Is that where the bong came from?
I don't know, but it is pronounced bong. But because I'm in
Aria,
we call
Aria,
it.
They said do your research. Hey, I'm
it's I don't know that part, right? But that's what they call the drink in the Middle East. They call it bong. It's like a tea.
Okay.
Bong bong.
Okay.
Bong bong.
It's a bong tea.
Bong bongs. Okay.
Tucky,
Yep.
let them know where they can reach you at, brother.
All right. If you're on Instagram, it's at Tucky Blunt 80. The store is Blunts and More, and it's BLUNTSANDMOORE. Instagram. Twitter is the same for Blunts and More. I'm on Twitter at Blunt Tucky. I'm on LinkedIn as Alfonso T. Blunt. Don't follow me on Facebook. That's for family. And what else? Oh, website.
Following you.
You on there. Website will be back up probably by when we open, and that's bluntsandmore.com. And yeah, just tune in, stay tuned, and we're coming to a city near you.
All right, absolutely. This has been a great episode. Once again, episode 17. Thank you, Dr. Lowe, for joining us this evening. Tucky Blunt, thank you so much. Aria, thank you once again for providing so much flavor to the pot. Pardon the pun. Pot. You like that?
It's a nice hoodie.
Thank you.
I mean, I came a little festive too. You know what I mean? Like,
I see your shirt with the leaves and things. I'm in my own
sativa, right?
Yeah,
definitely sativa.
I peeped that.
But also, thank you for Dana Moore, Nikkei 2 Desire. She's got a lot of comments on here, so I think we touched on all of these, and she's very appreciative, and they're very appreciative of the information that you guys are providing. So thank you so much. We really, really appreciate all of the knowledge and the wisdom, and we wish you so much more success in your industries, and we hope that you can come back and visit us again.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Very welcome. All right, everyone. Again, you can reach us on YouTube, Catalyst Lifestyle, the podcast. Definitely subscribe, hit that like button, comment, go back, watch old episodes. This will be up in a few minutes after we're done. Check us out. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Also, go to Facebook, Catalyst Conversation. As you see, that's with a K. Reach out to Dr. Lowe. Reach out to Tucky Blunt. You know, this is great information. They can provide you with more detail. If you're suffering from any ailments, if you're on the fence, definitely reach out to them and let them know that you are inquiring about, you know, hemp, cannabis oils, creams, so on and so forth. And once again, as we always say at the end of our show, 1, 2, 3, all we got is us. All right? Educate yourself, exchange information. We're out. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Yes, we are not here for Valentine's Day.
All right. Tucky, thank you so much. I appreciate you, brother.
Man, thank y'all. Appreciate y'all. Pleasure to meet you, Dr. Lowe.
Oh, you're muted. You're muted. You're muted.
I'll be reaching out to you, Tucky.
Yes, ma'am. No doubt. No doubt.
Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
All right, Aria.
All
we'll see them in 2 weeks.
2 weeks after
2 weeks.
The week after Valentine's Day or or the day that everybody celebrates because they feel like it's, you know, whatever. But whatever, I don't care.
We out. All right. Join us in 2 weeks. Thank you for joining us. Subscribe, like, comment, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Thank you so much. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.